Someone is deeply in love with you, and it began because of one quiet thing you did. Read this before the feeling fades into silence. This message did not appear in front of you for no reason. And no, this is not just a dramatic opening meant to catch your eye. There is a real reason your attention slowed down here. A real reason your mind did not scroll away the way it usually does. A real reason something inside you said, "Stay for a moment. Keep listening. This matters." And the reason is stronger than it seems. Because somewhere right now, a real person, someone you know today, or someone who once stood much closer to your heart, is going through something heavy in private. Not loudly, not in a way others can easily see, but inside, they are struggling. And strangely enough, it is tied to you. Not because you chased them, not because you begged for their time, not because you kept knocking on a closed door hoping one more word would change everything. It is because you stopped doing something they believed you would always keep doing. That one shift changed the energy between you. Stay with me here because this part matters. There came a point in your life when you chose yourself. It was not dramatic. It did not come with a speech or a final scene, or some clear moment people could point to and say, that was the ending. It was quiet, almost invisible, but inside you it was huge. One day you understood something important. You could not keep handing out pieces of your heart just to make another person feel safe while you felt empty. You could not keep pouring care into a bond that kept draining your spirit. Maybe you stopped sending the first message every time. Maybe you stopped repeating your feelings to someone who heard you but never really listened. Maybe you stopped staring at your phone, hoping this time the reply would feel honest, warm, and real. Or maybe you simply stopped forgiving the same wound again and again. Not because you turned cold, not because you stopped loving, but because something inside you finally understood that loving someone should not mean abandoning yourself. From the outside it may have looked small, just a little change, just a little distance, but inside your heart, it was a turning point. For the first time you chose peace over confusion. You chose self-respect over emotional exhaustion. You chose to protect your energy instead of giving it away without limit. And that quiet choice changed more than you knew, because the person who is now shaken by your absence never expected this version of you. In their mind you were constant, always there, always kind, always patient, always willing to give a little more, even when you had already given too much. They got used to your presence, used to your softness, used to your attention, used to the comfort of knowing that no matter what happened, you would still remain within reach. And when something becomes expected, it slowly loses urgency, not because it has no value, but because it begins to feel guaranteed. That is what happened. They treated your presence like something permanent, so they did not question it, they did not protect it, they did not hold it carefully, as if it could disappear. But then something changed, quietly, no fight, no loud goodbye, just distance. You pulled your energy back, not to punish them, not to prove a point, but to save yourself. And when you did, they felt it. At first they did not fully understand it. They thought maybe you were busy, maybe you were tired, maybe you would return to the old pattern soon. They believed the version of you they knew would come back and continue being the one who stayed, the one who cared, the one who kept reaching. But days passed, then more days, and you did not return to those old habits. You did not chase. You did not remind them of your worth. You did not try to repair what had already become one-sided. You simply moved forward, quietly and steadily. That is when it began to reach them. Something was different, something was missing. And once that feeling entered their mind, it started growing. At first it was small, a pause when they thought of you, a moment of silence where your message would normally appear, a random urge to tell you something, only to realize the connection no longer felt open in the same way. Slowly that small feeling became larger, because they were not only missing your presence, they were missing the way you made life feel, the way your conversations flowed with ease, the way you created comfort without asking for attention, the way you listened to understand, not just to answer. Without that, there was silence, and over time, that silence became loud, because when someone is always around, their value can start to feel ordinary, but when they step back, their absence begins to speak, not all at once, gradually, then deeply, and once it is felt, it cannot be unfelt. Now they think about you differently, not because you forced your way into their mind, not because you tried to make them regret anything, but because your absence created space. And in that space came reflection. In that reflection, they began replaying moments, small talks, easy laughs, times you showed up without hesitation. Things that once seemed simple now carry weight, because now they see something they missed before. You were never just available, you were choosing to be there. That choice was the gift. That choice was the rare thing, and now that it is no longer being offered so freely, they feel the difference. Watch this closely, because this is where the shift gets deeper. Something inside them starts waking up. At first it does not feel like love. It feels like confusion, a quiet discomfort they cannot explain. They go through their day, they talk to people, they handle work, they stay busy. But in between those normal moments, something keeps bringing their attention back to you, not every second, just often enough to disturb the peace they thought they had. A thought appears out of nowhere. A memory rises when they least expect it. A question slips into the mind. Why am I thinking about them now? And that question does not leave easily, because the truth is simple. Your absence created a space inside them, and now that space is slowly filling with you. They begin to remember more clearly, not only what you did, but how you made them feel, the way you paid attention when others did not, the way you stayed calm when things were messy, the way you noticed details that most people ignore, the way you made them feel seen without asking for a reward. At the time it all felt normal, almost expected, but now it feels rare, and that realization does not arrive like lightning. It builds quietly until it becomes too heavy to ignore, because now when they speak with other people, something feels missing. Conversations do not carry the same depth. Moments do not feel as full. There is a quiet comparison happening, even if they do not want to admit it. And in that comparison you keep appearing, not physically, in memory, in feeling, in contrast. That is when the shift moves even deeper, because missing someone is one thing, realizing what they truly meant to you is something else. Now they are not just thinking about you, they are beginning to understand you. They understand your patience. They understand your consistency. They understand the effort you gave so naturally that it barely looked like effort at all. And with that understanding comes something heavier, regret. Not loud regret. Not the kind they speak about openly, quiet regret. The kind that sits in the background and returns in still moments. The kind that appears when a person looks at the past and sees all the places where they could have done more. They could have been more present. They could have valued what stood right in front of them. But at the time, there was no urgency, because you were there. And when someone believes they have endless access to your presence, they often fail to notice its true worth. They assume it will continue. They assume there will always be another day. But now that assumption is gone. Your energy is no longer reaching toward them, and that creates a feeling they are not used to carrying. Uncertainty. They do not know where they stand with you anymore. They do not know if they can still approach you the same way. They do not know whether you would answer warmly, coldly, or not at all. And that uncertainty makes them think of you even more. Before, the connection felt predictable. You would care, you would show up, you would stay. But now they do not know. And when people lose certainty, they begin to notice value in a new way. They start paying attention to what feels like it could truly be lost. So now they replay conversations. They read between the lines of things you once said. They think about moments they failed to understand when they were happening. They remember the times you tried to express yourself, and how they did not respond with the care you needed. They remember the effort you gave, and how they did not match it. These realizations are not light. They land heavy, because now they see the gap between what you offered and what they returned. That awareness creates emotion, stronger emotion than they expected. It is no longer just about missing your company. It is about recognizing your value only after feeling your absence. That combination has power. Now your name crosses their mind more often. Not in passing, but in real moments. They may be doing something good and suddenly think, I wish I could tell you this. They may be facing something difficult and realize you would have understood it better than anyone. And then it hits them. You were not just someone nearby. You were someone meaningful, someone who added depth to their life in a way they did not fully understand until it was no longer easily available. That changes how they see you. You are no longer just familiar. You are no longer guaranteed. You have become uncertain. And uncertainty does something strange to the heart. It creates curiosity. It stirs reflection. It makes feelings grow sharper. Now they begin to watch you from a distance, maybe through social media, maybe through shared spaces, maybe only through memory. And what they notice is not weakness. It is strength. You seem calmer, more grounded, more whole. Not because you are trying to prove something, but because you are no longer carrying what once weighed you down. Even from far away, they can feel the difference. They can see that you are moving, healing, growing, becoming someone who is no longer stuck in the same emotional place. And that realization brings mixed feelings. Part of them feels proud of you, part of them feels pulled toward you, but another part feels the heavy truth that you may be becoming someone they can no longer easily reach. That thought is hard to ignore, because now it is not only about the past, it is about what could be lost forever. And that is where the feeling deepens. People often do not understand the weight of a connection until they feel it slipping away, until they feel distance, until they sense that what once felt safe may never return in the same form. Now that possibility is real. They do not know if you would welcome them back. They do not know if your heart still holds space for them. They do not know whether the moment has already passed. Those questions stay with them, quietly, repeatedly, and your silence says more than words ever did. Because silence can reveal what arguments hide. It can show what presence used to cover. It can force a person to feel what they avoided for a long time, and now they are beginning to feel something stronger than simple awareness. There is emotional weight building inside them. It does not crash in all at once. It grows in pauses, in empty moments, in the stillness between daily tasks. Slowly, thinking about you becomes attached to feeling. The more you cross their mind, the more emotion gathers around your memory. They begin to feel a space in their daily life that cannot be filled easily. Because what you gave them was not just attention, it was steadiness, it was understanding, it was a kind of presence that does not come often. Now that it is gone, they feel the gap mentally and emotionally. That is when things shift again. They begin imagining different possibilities. What if things had gone another way? What if they had shown up when you needed them? What if they had understood your value earlier? Those questions do not bring peace. The past cannot be changed, but the awareness of it can become very heavy, and now they are looking back from your side. That is the turning point. For the first time, they are not only remembering you, they are empathizing with you. They begin to understand your silence as a response, not a mystery. A response to giving too much. A response to not being met halfway. A response to feeling unheard. That changes everything, because now your distance no longer seems random. It feels justified. It feels real. And with that realization comes another emotion they did not expect. Respect. Not the kind of respect spoken out loud, but the quiet kind that forms inside when someone finally sees the strength it took for you to step back. They begin to understand how hard it is to stop chasing, how hard it is to stop explaining, how hard it is to choose yourself when your heart still feels everything. Because walking away in silence is often harder than staying in pain. That truth changes how they see you. You are no longer only the person who loved deeply. You are the person who had the courage to protect your own peace. And that is powerful. Now something inside them pulls in two directions. One side wants to reach out, to say something honest, to reconnect, to fix what now feels unfinished. They think about sending a message. They open the conversation. They type a few words. Then they stop. They hesitate. They ask themselves what they could even say now. Would you answer? Would it feel awkward? Has too much changed? Is it already too late? That hesitation keeps them silent, because alongside the feeling is fear. Fear that you have changed too much. Fear that you are no longer emotionally available in the same way. Fear that you have already moved forward without them. And fear is hard to face when the heart finally begins to care deeply, so they stay quiet. Not because the feeling is small, but because it matters. And when something matters, uncertainty becomes heavy. So instead of acting, they think, they observe, they feel. And those unspoken feelings do not disappear. They build. They become stronger in the absence of expression. Now your absence is no longer just noticeable. It means something. It stands for a line you finally drew, a decision, a boundary, a point where you could no longer keep giving endlessly without being met in return. That boundary forces them to reflect in a way they never had to before. Your presence once made everything easy. Now your absence makes everything clear. And clarity is uncomfortable, because it shines light on what was ignored. It reveals what was taken for granted. It shows the worth of what used to be available but no longer is. In that clarity they begin to understand something deeply. You did not step back to hurt them. You stepped back because you had to. Staying the same was costing you too much. The more they see that, the more their feelings grow, not quickly, steadily. Because now those feelings are built on reflection, on awareness, on truth. And emotions built on truth do not fade easily. While they are going through all of this, you are somewhere else on your path. You are learning, healing, becoming someone who no longer feels the need to chase love in order to feel worthy. That difference between where you are and where they are now is part of what makes this so heavy. Because by the time they fully understand what they feel, you may already be far ahead. That thought keeps returning to them, again and again. It is no longer only about missing you. It is about the painful idea that they may have understood everything too late. And that feeling brings its own kind of quiet weight. Every thought about you now comes with another thought behind it. What if I had seen this sooner? What if I had not waited so long? What if I had shown up in a different way? These questions do not comfort them. They force reflection, the deep kind, the kind that makes a person sit with themselves and see what they avoided before. Because back then, things felt simple. You were there. You cared. You stayed. There was no pressure to change, no fear that something important could be lost. But now they understand that what you gave them was rare, not common, not replaceable, not something found in every connection. That creates tension inside them. One part wants to act now, to say something real, to finally meet you with honesty. Another part holds back because they do not know your heart anymore. They do not know if you still feel anything. They do not know if there is space left. So they imagine different outcomes. They imagine reaching out and being met with warmth. They imagine reaching out and feeling distance. They imagine reaching out and hearing nothing at all. Each possibility carries its own risk, so they pause again, not because the feeling is weak, but because the outcome is uncertain. And when the heart is truly involved, uncertainty can feel terrifying. Now they notice you in ways they did not when you were close. They notice your steadiness, your quiet strength, the way you carry yourself now. You are not trying to prove anything. You are not trying to be noticed. You are simply more grounded, and that energy speaks loudly without making a sound. When someone stops chasing, their energy changes. It becomes quieter, yes, but also stronger, more centered, more real. That kind of presence draws attention without effort, and now they are not only drawn to who you were, they are drawn to who you are becoming. A person who knows their worth. A person who no longer accepts crumbs in place of care. A person who can love deeply and still walk away when staying becomes too expensive for the soul. That combination is rare, and when people recognize something rare, they feel it hard. Now your absence carries meaning. It is not just distance, it is a message. It is proof that your presence was given freely, but not endlessly. It was a choice, not a guarantee, and that understanding makes your value clearer than ever. They begin to feel the full weight of what they did not protect. The weight of what they assumed would always remain within reach. That feeling does not disappear through distraction. It returns in quiet moments, in the evening, in stillness, in the spaces where there is nothing to cover it. And when it returns, they feel the gap you left behind, not only in communication but in energy, in emotional depth, in the way life felt when you were part of it. That gap is not easy to fill, because what you gave them was not surface level. It was real, steady, genuine. And now without it, they feel the difference clearly. With that awareness comes a truth they can no longer avoid. You were never replaceable, not in the way they once assumed, because connections like that do not happen every day, and when they are lost, they are felt more and more as time moves on. So now they begin questioning themselves honestly, not with excuses, not defensively, but with real reflection. They see the moments where they failed to meet you halfway, the delays, the silences, the ways they received your energy without returning it fully. That creates a quiet regret that needs no audience to be real. And while this is happening inside them, you keep moving, growing, healing, learning how to live without chasing someone just to feel chosen. That is what makes it all even heavier from their side, because they are only now reaching the understanding you reached long ago. They are only now carrying the weight you already carried before you stepped back. That timing makes it all feel dangerously close to too late. By the time someone finally sees the worth of what they had, the other person may have already learned how to live without it, and that truth is not easy to sit with. So the question stays alive inside them. Is there still a chance? Or have I already lost the one thing I thought would always stay? That question follows them quietly, not out loud, not in the way they confess to others, but in the background of their thoughts, in the silence of late nights, in those strange moments when everything slows down and there is nowhere left to hide. Is there still a way back? Or did I wait too long? Because now everything feels different. Reaching you no longer feels easy. Your presence no longer feels certain. And that alone changes the whole emotional picture. People often understand the value of something only when they are no longer sure they can have it. That is exactly where they are now, not just remembering you, not just thinking about you now and then, feeling something much deeper than before, a mixture of regret and hope. Regret for the times they did not act, regret for the effort they did not return, regret for believing you would stay no matter how little was given back, but also hope. Hope that maybe the story is not completely closed. Hope that maybe there is still a small opening. Hope that maybe what was broken could one day be rebuilt. Holding both regret and hope at the same time is not easy. One pulls them backward, the other pulls them forward, and between those two feelings they remain suspended, uncertain, emotional, unable to fully let go. But while this is happening in them, you are in another place entirely. Not because you became heartless, not because you stopped caring, but because you chose to stop disappearing inside someone else's neglect. You chose your own space. You chose to breathe again without pressure. You chose to exist without constantly proving your worth. That changed everything for you. Now your peace does not depend on another person's attention. Your worth does not rise or fall based on someone else's ability to recognize it. Your calm no longer depends on a message, a response, or a sign. That is a powerful place to reach. It may have taken time. It may have hurt. There may have been nights when you questioned yourself. But growth often feels uncomfortable before it finally feels right. And now you are different, not colder, just more complete. You still care deeply. You still feel. But you no longer pour yourself out at the cost of your own well-being. That changes the way love moves around you. It changes what you accept. It changes what you attract. And yes, somewhere right now, someone is learning the value of your presence because you stepped back, and stopped making it easy for them to overlook you. So this message is not here to tell you to go backward. It is not here to tell you to chase. It is not here to tell you to make the first move or reopen a door you closed for your own peace. It is here to remind you of something simple and powerful. Choosing yourself did not make you lose love. It revealed what love really was. It showed who valued your presence while they had it, and who only understood it when it was gone. That kind of clarity is rare. If they come back, it will not be because you ran after them one more time. It will not be because you explained your pain again in softer words. It will not be because you tried harder. It will be because they finally understand. Because what you gained is greater. You gained yourself. You gained peace. You gained the deep understanding that your worth does not shrink just because someone failed to see it in time. It shapes the kind of love you allow near your heart. It shapes the way you speak to yourself when no one else is around. So hold on to that version of you, the one who chose peace over confusion, the one who chose dignity over giving, the one who chose growth even when it meant standing alone for a while. That version of you is powerful. That version of you is the one that will attract what is real, mutual, and balanced. And somewhere right now, someone is learning that lesson because of you. Someone is realizing what your presence truly meant. Someone is finally seeing the value they once had near them.